Where are you trying to go? My vehicle, ECD. Okay. We're trying to get digits. Oh, well. You don't recognize it. There's a right now they're trying to call that. I guess it's actually way over. Welcome to CNN Digital on this historic inauguration day, a bitterly cold day that has forced the inauguration event indoors. Just incredible. The sun right now over the Capitol, where the swearing-in ceremony will take place at noon today, is outshining brightly, but it's only taking the edge off the bitter Arctic air that has settled in to the nation's capital here in Washington, D.C. Every few moments, we get these gusts of wind that just make it incredibly, incredibly cold. So I really believe that this was all part of the decision process here for the inauguration and a lot of the events, including the parade, to be moved indoors today. This is a very unique day because as a meteorologist, we have this very dedicated historical track record of past inaugural events. So is this one of the coldest inauguration days in American history? It's one of the coldest, but not the coldest. So we have to go back 4 decades. We're talking 40 years. That was Ronald Reagan's second inauguration, where temperatures were actually 7 degrees outdoors. Now, it won't be that cold today, but it will feel like it's that cold. And in fact, we've got what is called a cold weather advisory. So again, the sun just taking off the edge, it is the wind chill values that are dropping temperatures into the single digits and the teens throughout the course of the day. Just a hive of activity happening here in DC. You can hear the sirens. There's plenty of security in and around this area. And part of that decision process to move things indoors is because of all the police, of all the extra personnel, and of course, the people that were wanting to watch the inauguration event, but it is just simply too cold to do so. So this cold weather emergency that has been activated by the mayor of Washington, D.C., warning of frostbite if you spend any considerable amount of time in these types of temperatures, especially as the day progresses and as we get into the overnight period tonight. So this cold Arctic blast, we'll call it a part of the polar vortex, has settled into the nation's capital, and it is bitterly, bitterly cold here. Temperatures will be in the lower 20s, so that's actually the mercury in the thermometer, but it is, again, that wind chill value, what is it apparent feels like temperature on your skin, your exposed skin. That's why I'm bundled up like this. And that is why it is so dangerously cold to spend any considerable amount of time outside. So just an incredible historic day. Of course, a lot of this taking place indoors. But in the minutes to come, actually, the Bidens are going to be welcoming the Trumps into the White House here in a couple of minutes. So we're anxious to watch that as the motorcade travels towards the White House. It is extremely cold here in the nation's capital, and it will stay that way as this is one of the coldest inauguration events in American history. Thanks for tuning in to CNN Digital. We appreciate it. Have a great day.
We are standing at the White House North Lawn, where any minute now we should be seeing right behind me here the motorcade for incoming President Donald Trump and the incoming First Lady and former First Lady Melania Trump to roll up here on the path behind me. If we're lucky with the timing, we might actually catch those cars coming in. And then over there, if you can see, there is a gathering of reporters, cameras on the North Portico. That is when the official greeting by President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden will happen. They will be hosting the incoming first couple for a traditional tea ceremony here at the White House. That, of course, is a tradition among modern presidents, but was a tradition that was not afforded to incoming President Biden 4 years ago when Donald Trump refused to accept the results of the election. Now, just a few moments ago, we did see the Vice President, Kamala Harris, and Doug Emhoff, her husband, they welcomed JD Vance and his wife Usha to the White House as well. So a lot of the ceremonies involved in Inauguration Day and in Inauguration Day morning, they are starting to, as we are seeing, migrate to here at the White House. President Trump, of course, has been at St. John's with his family and advisors and others who will make up his new incoming administration for another part of what has been a tradition on Inauguration Day for many years now. Now, in terms of just the mood here at the White House and what it has been like to cover Inauguration Day morning the last several hours, obviously there is a ton of heightened security. Usually, it is there's just a one security gate that you go through as a reporter with a hard pass. We actually had to go around a larger perimeter this morning to go through security. So 2 rounds of security checkpoints essentially to get in. And there are a lot of reporters here, reporters who have covered Joe Biden and the Biden presidency. And then, of course, reporters who will go on to continue covering the Trump presidency. Just in terms of the mood inside the building, I mean, first and foremost, it is a bit of a ghost town because many of the folks who work inside the White House and have worked for President Biden, they've actually already said their goodbyes and vacated their offices. I was actually taking a walk around the lower press earlier. That is where uh, the members of the press team for President Biden sit very close to the offices of the reporters at the White House. And it was basically empty. The desks were empty. The walls were basically empty. I think I saw one photograph of President Biden that was sitting on its side, clearly waiting for somebody to take with them once this day is over. But again, what we are waiting for right now is that motorcade carrying Donald Trump and Melania Trump to approach right here and come into the White House. And then we will see President Biden and Jill Biden greeting them. Back here at the White House North Lawn, we are seeing right here behind me the motorcade carrying incoming President Donald Trump and the incoming First Lady, of course, Melania Trump, driving up there to the North Portico. That is where we know President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden are standing. There they are. I know hard to see from here, but they are standing at the doors, and we are seeing the motorcade pulling up. The red carpet is out for them, and in any moment we will see. Well, I will see. It's a little hard again to see from here.
Hey, everybody on CNN.com. We are here in the very cold Washington, D.C. today. And behind this line of police officers, you can see a very, very long line of people trying to get into the Capital One Arena. That is, of course, where the inauguration celebrations are happening after the official swearing-in ceremony. Really, probably hard to capture right here, but you can see this is going back blocks and blocks and blocks all throughout Washington, D.C. Not sure if everybody's actually going to be able to make it into the arena itself. But you know, folks here are all very excited, people that we've been speaking to all morning, just delighted to be here in DC to see their candidate for president successfully being sworn in. There is also some counter demonstrators here. You can probably hear some of them in the background. Actually, just two lone counter demonstrators in this part of DC. Let's see actually if they'll talk to us. You guys chat to us live on CNN.com. So you're one of the few counter demonstrators here at the moment.
Yes.
Why is it important for you for your voice to be heard here today?
Because I want to make other people know and feel that the resistance isn't dead, that there are people who are disgusted by the fact that Donald Trump tried to overthrow our government on January 6, 2021, especially as a DC resident, especially as somebody who saw with my own eyes the attack on our Capitol on January 6th, because I was protesting the Proud Boys and white supremacist groups who attacked the Capitol. I think that it's very important that there are people who are sick and tired of Donald Trump and that he's a wannabe dictator.
Thank you very much for your time. Yeah, thank you. So look, that just a small there was, of course, a People's March here over the weekend, which thousands of people showed up to. Much smaller demonstration than what was initially had back in 2017 when Trump was first elected, when there was the Women's March, where there was you know, almost 500,000 people gathered here in Washington, D.C. What we're expecting to see in the next few hours is hopefully a lot of these folks are hoping they're going to get into the Capital One Arena. We might see some more of these counter demonstrators showing up throughout the day. Obviously, people watching and waiting to see what is happening with the executive orders, and then, of course, those very potentially controversial pardons of January 6th, people who are serving time in prison for their actions on January 6th. And little later on today, we're actually going to be heading over and we'll be live on CNN.com outside the DC jail, where people who have been waiting, who have been campaigning for the release and pardoning of people who took part in January 6th, for them to get out of jail. So today could potentially be a very big day.
We are here at the White House North Lawn, where just moments ago you saw incoming President Donald Trump's motorcade arriving here at the White House, just behind me at the North Portico, and waiting outside to greet the Trumps was the Bidens, President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden. Uh, they were standing there with literally the red carpet rolled out in front of them to greet the Trumps back to the White House. And we are just getting word from the reporters that were standing at the North Portico uh, what exactly President Biden said to the incoming president. He said the words we are told, "Welcome home," once the former president stepped out of the SUV. And a few moments prior to that, we are also told that when reporters asked President Biden what his message is for today, his response was a one-word response, and that was the word joy. Now, there is obviously irony there. We know from all of our reporting that joy is not exactly the word that President Biden is feeling in this moment. We know that President Biden, of course, based on everything he has said over the years, sees Donald Trump as a grave threat to democracy and this country's health. He very much did not want Donald Trump to be ever returning home to the White House. And as we have reported, he has been in quite a dark headspace about the position he finds himself in, feeling like he was put under a pressure campaign and forced out essentially of the 2024 race by some of his own supporters and his allies. He basically never got over that. Uh, and then, of course, since Election Day, when his Vice President Kamala Harris was defeated by Donald Trump, we are told, based on our reporting and talking to our sources, that President Biden has grown increasingly embittered by just the torrent of blame that he has gotten from those in his party, those across the country, for this idea that he was ultimately responsible for the return of Donald Trump to the White House. So again, we are waiting for the Bidens and the Trumps to emerge from this tea ceremony. We are told that they are meeting currently in the blue room of the White House, where both tea and coffee is being served. And once the two couples emerge, they will be getting back into the motorcade and actually in the same car, we are told, to share that small amount of time together as they ride together to Capitol Hill. And over on Capitol Hill, of course, that swearing in ceremony will take place. We are already seeing a number of dignitaries starting to file in to the room, the rotunda. And of course, this ceremony was supposed to be outdoors. It is now going to be indoors. Everybody is going to be filling in now and waiting for that ceremony to begin momentarily.
Welcome back. We are outdoors in Washington, D.C. on this frigid inauguration day, which will go down in the history books as one of the coldest inauguration days in history, not the coldest. We'll talk about that in just one moment, but history right now being made. You've got the Capitol building directly behind me. We've been watching the Bidens welcome the Trumps in the White House, which is directly over my left shoulder here, just obstructed by this building here behind you. And it is just incredible to think what has transpired over the past 72 hours with the drastic change from the ceremony, the inauguration event actually being moved indoors on account of the weather. Now, it's all about the wind chill. So it is bitterly cold right now, but the sun kind of taking the edge off of the extreme temperatures. But every time we get this gust of wind that comes in, it drops the temperatures down significantly. And that was a major factor in the decision process of Donald Trump ordering these events to be taken indoors into the Capitol Rotunda, which will be swearing in will actually take place here at noon today. So again, it is bitterly, bitterly cold here in DC. We are right now on top of the CNN DC bureau. We've got this view of downtown, the Capitol building and the White House, but I want to give you, the viewer, a behind the scenes look at what media and journalists and meteorologists contend with on cold weather days and covering such a special event as this. So I'm going to turn the camera around and show you our media space. You can see the tent behind me, my photojournalist, Tyler Ryan behind me as well. And we've got to do our best to stay warm because we often have these extended delays in between our hits, depending on what type of news is happening. So we've actually got a heated blanket. We've got this portable heater here, which has been very, very, very helpful. This tent actually helps protect the wind that I was talking about that brings the wind chill value down into the single digits. There's several international TV stations that here are on the top of the CNN building with us. There's another CNN Brazil here over my left-hand shoulder. They're doing their best to stay warm. You can see dressed appropriately. I've got my bomber hat on and my long pea coat on to keep myself warm. Also, another critical thing that's an important factor when you're covering these cold weather events is a heated vest. So that's what I have on right now underneath this to help keep myself warm. It won't be the coldest inauguration in history. Got to go back 4 decades when we actually saw President Ronald Reagan's second inauguration, 1985, when the temperature was a balmy 7 degrees. Right now, temperatures are in the lower 20s, but again, it's the wind chill that makes it feel like the single digits, and that is why the efforts were taken to move all of the events indoors today. So we're going to monitor the weather. It will get colder. Cold weather emergencies in effect for the city of Washington, D.C., and that is for the potential of frostbite and hypothermia if you spend extended durations outdoors without the proper gear. Hey, thanks for tuning in to this CNN Digital Special. Take care.
Esther, good to see you.
Right this way.
Ready, post. Ready, post.
morning, Mr. Leader.
Good morning.
How do you feel this morning, sir?
I feel great about the Bills.
Mr. Speaker, good morning. How do you feel this morning?
It's exciting. Bright, sunny outside, bright in our hearts.
Sir, what are you expecting on executive orders?
A lot. We'll see.
Thank you. Mr. Majority Leader, good morning. How do you feel this morning?
No interviews. Sorry.
Thank you, sir. Leader, what is your message today? Sir, thank you.
Hi there, I'm Brianna Keeler live from the Capital One Arena, which is really giving kind of a rally feel here. I want to tell you what you can see here. I am actually up by the podium where President-elect, then President Trump, will be speaking. They actually just put the bunting up on this a short time ago, and they just put up the presidential seal because this is something that came together very much the last minute. And just to give you a sense of the crowd here, these are really the best seats in the House. These are front row seats. And some of the people who got these seats were actually waiting outside in the sub-zero temperatures at 9:30 p.m. last night. You can tell it kind of has a sporting event feel to it. People are cheering as they're watching the events of the day on the Jumbotron. So right now they're watching President Trump, former President Trump, soon to be future President Trump, and President Biden get in the limousine at the White House. So they're watching all of the kind of comings and goings and cheering along with it, breaking out into chants of USA. I do want to give you a look at the room here. at the arena. It is getting packed. The upper level is not fully packed at this point, but we're still several hours away from this event beginning. And I'm also going to walk you down now so that you can see the media center. And also, this is kind of funny. Like I said, at a sporting event feel, of course, because here we are where the Washington Wizards play, the Capitals play. I think this is about where Wolf Blitzer's Wizards seat tickets would be. Something I never thought I would say during an inauguration. I have to tell you, it's kind of surreal that these events have been moved inside. This is the media riser. You can see all of those lights, all of the TV folks here. The print folks are behind. And this is the setup right here for a live band. But the other amazing thing, and that a lot of the people in the audience don't seem to know, is that there's actually going to be a parade here. I have learned from sources who are on site and familiar with the plans. There is actually going to be a parade. It's not going to be as big, obviously, as what we were going to be seeing before outside. How are they going to do this? You would say, I wondered myself. There's actually quite a lot of floor space. I assume they will clear these chairs. And there's a large thoroughfare on either side of the folded chairs. So we should be seeing marching bands. We should be seeing at least some of the participants who are going to be in the outdoor festivities. We're still waiting to figure out exactly who that is. But it is a very excited crowd here at Capital One Center. We're going to keep an eye on all the comings and goings here. As things get underway, they'll be watching the inauguration. There will be a lot of cheering, no doubt, and we'll bring it to you.
How are you? Michael Bennett.
Good morning. How are you?
Center, direct this way, please. Looking forward to it. See ya. Yeah. Shifts. All right. Yeah. Clean this.
Hey friends, so we are live outside Capital One Arena in downtown DC, where in just a couple of hours, President-elect Donald Trump is set to hold his inaugural parade inside this impromptu inaugural parade in lieu of one outside the traditional walk down Constitution Avenue because of the weather here in DC. I want to paint a picture for you of what it looks like outside Capital One. You can see there's an enormous line here. It spans at least 4 blocks going in this direction. Folks have been out here since very early this morning, since about 5 a.m. when the line started forming. But it doesn't just end here. I actually want to show you that it curves another 2 or 3 blocks and then goes several blocks further down. So Washington, D.C. is swarmed with Trump supporters today, and folks that have been waiting in line again for hours, braving freezing temperatures. When I got here this morning, it was about 19, 18 degrees. Right now, it's roughly 25 degrees. And I've talked to folks from all over the country, people from California, Montana, Arizona, Georgia, Florida. I even heard from some folks from Colombia and Vietnam, people from overseas coming here to witness Donald Trump's inauguration in person. And I do not think that with the 20,000 seat capacity at Capital One, all these folks that have been waiting in line for hours are going to get in. So there is undoubtedly going to be some disappointment for some of these folks. Again, very, very cool temperatures here. I want to see if there's anyone who might talk to me. Pardon me, where are you from?
Fredericksburg.
Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Yes.
What brings you out here today?
I mean, it's one of my first inaugurations. It's the first I'm a military kid, so I really respect the Republican outlook for the military. Scary. Oh, thank you.
There you go, of course. You're very excited to see President Trump. What is it that you're most excited about seeing today?
Change. I think it's what I'm most excited for. I have a little boy, and it's definitely been hard with all the price raise, the tax raise, and all that. So,
What was your name?
Haley.
Haley from Fredericksburg. Thank you so much for chatting with us. I appreciate it. What we just heard from Haley from Virginia is something that we've heard over and over again from folks here in line. Earlier, I was speaking to also a couple of retired military folks, Trey and Willie from Arizona, who told me that they were pumped to see Donald Trump in part because of the shock that they hope he will bring to the U.S. system of government. You hear that repeatedly, complaints about high prices, as well as the issue of immigration is another one that's come up here multiple times. And the interesting thing about this crowd is that there are folks from all walks of life. As you heard there, I talked to some folks that have ties to the military. Previously, I'd spoken to a teacher. So it's a unique collection of people. Of course, the thing to keep in mind here, again, is that not all these folks are going to be able to get inside. I've heard from a producer that they set up screens outside, but even then it's not clear exactly what kind of view they're going to get. As for what is set to happen inside, we're hoping that the reporting that we've done comes to fruition, because the president-elect, then President Trump, once he gets inaugurated, is set to sign some executive orders, as well as give another speech to entertain the crowd. Of course, yesterday, he famously was on stage with the Village People. We'll see if they're on stage tonight. I'm Boris Sanchez. Thanks so much for checking us out on CNN Digital.
How you doing?
I had lunch with him.
Ladies and gentlemen, the acting dean of the diplomatic corps.
Good morning, sir. How are you
Morning,
this morning?
everybody. Good
Mr.
morning. Thank you.
President Trump, how do you feel? President Biden?
Well,
Good morning, Mr. Vice President. How do you feel? Any comments, sir?
Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect's cabinet and cabinet-level designees.
I'm Jeff Zeleny on the east front of the Capitol. And even though the sun is shining today, and perhaps you've seen some people walking in without jackets, I can tell you it is frigid out here this morning. The coldest inaugural that I can certainly recall. That is why it's being held inside. But we are standing out here. We've been watching the arrivals all morning long. And what just a chain of history that is unfolding in front of us. We've seen former President Bill Clinton, former President George W. Bush, former President Barack Obama, Mrs. Bush, Mrs. Clinton, a notable absent, Michelle Obama. She has decided to not attend the inaugural. Her aides in office did not explain why, but her view of Donald Trump, of course, is very clear. But as we just watched the arrival of President Biden and President-elect Donald Trump, they rode that limousine as we've been watching all morning long from the White House here to Capitol Hill. What a moment of history that is. Joe Biden arrived in the Senate here on Capitol Hill, 1972, the youngest senator from Delaware. He will take his leave now as the oldest American president. Certainly not how he wanted on this very windy morning here. Certainly not wanting to hand the reins of power back to Donald Trump. But he wanted to make clear, his advisors told me, that the peaceful transfer of power is so important to American democracy. So he had the Trump over to the White House this morning and had that conversation. We will find out, likely in history books, what they actually talked about. But I'm struck by the fact that the previous presidents here now, this is just the second meeting of the President's Club in 11 days. Of course, they all convened for Jimmy Carter's funeral just 11 days ago. And the summer of 1946 produced three presidents: Donald Trump, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton, all three men will be inside the rotunda of the Capitol today, watching Donald Trump make history to be sworn in again as a U.S. president. It's a remarkable turn to power. It is a remarkable triumph that he certainly could not have imagined 4 years ago. And as we stand here on the east front of the Capitol, as you can see, this is exactly the spot. The windows behind me are the exact spot that were breached on the insurrection on January 6th of 2021. Supporters in Donald Trump's name did that. And one of the first actions he will do is pardon some of those January 6th defendants. So after the inaugural comes, after the inaugural address comes, I am told that President Trump will be signing many executive orders here inside the Capitol before going down to the Capital One Arena to meet his supporters, also signing executive orders there and doing them later today in the Oval Office as well. So a busy first day back to power. Donald Trump is different in so many ways. The question is, will his administration be as he takes power?
Try and catch her eye.